Bet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and Bill Callahan Fan Club president, Jake Bakoven.
I love Billy Steve.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is On the Block with Strick and Bob. Hold up.
Happy Sweet 16 Day to everybody out there as the NCAA tournament is ready to get going once again tonight. So we'll look forward to that as part of the show today. We also have Mitch Sherman of the Athletics set to join us at 5:25. It is a Thursday, and you know what that means. A thirsty Thursday. So 5 o'clock hour, we might be a little bit tipsy, but we'll try to make it through it. Also, obviously going to talk about the big news of the day for Husker football as Xavier Betts is no longer with the football team. But first and foremost, we'd, as always, like to know how Strick's day is going today. Strickland, Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet. How's your day going so far?
Well, it's very rainy today, so it looks like it's raining all over the place. Husker women's basketball loses another player, so I think that's two now that have left. We don't know the situation, the full scope on what's going on with my alma mater, high school alma mater with Xavier Betts. We don't know the details, and it just Frost was very stern on that. I'm good though. It's like I say, it's a dreary day. It seems like it's dreary all over the place right now in all forms and fashion. But other than that, we here on the block, and let's get it going.
I personally like the rain days. That's my favorite type of weather, so I'm comfortable in dreary, and maybe that says something about me as a Husker fan because it's getting too comfortable to be in these dreary situations. But let's start with the Xavier Betts news now. No longer with the football team. Scott Frost announced today. It sounded like they were pretty open to him coming back if that does play out, that situation does play out. But obviously, as of now, Nebraska losing. Maybe not so much production, although he did it at times. But one of the guys that I would say has the highest upside on the team before today, and was expected to step up and take a big role. But as of right now, didn't return for spring practice after spring break, and right now is off the football team. What are your initial thoughts when you heard that?
I felt it was kind of odd. I mean, Xavier he's an emotional kid. He has some ups and downs in his emotions. It could have been a lot of things going on with the competition that's now in the room. You know, when you're looking at things initially, and then all of a sudden, all of this competition jumps in the room. But one of the things is that we found that out of Mickey Joseph, and we haven't really heard much about him in the early aspects of spring practice. We've heard about some of the others stepping up, and we've talked about those. You know, Trey Palmer and we've heard, you know, Brody Belt, you know, is stepped up. So we're seeing and hearing out of the camp on different individuals and players, and you know, some of their transitions and what the competition's been like. But we haven't necessarily heard from Xavier, and so I don't know if it's frustration. I don't know if he was kind of feeling some kind of way as the way things were going, or maybe not going in his favor, and just decided the frustration hit too hard and didn't come back. I mean, obviously you're missing classes. If you didn't show up, maybe you're missing classes. Maybe there's other aspects to it that we don't know. And so we're hoping that we'll hear some details coming up with regarding his status. And again, the door's open. It sounds like yeah. They're probably going to have to be a conversation, a really good conversation that needs to be met. And we'll see if he's able to return.
And I guess, you know, because there wasn't any specific reason thrown out there, you know, you're kind of left open to speculate. I think Sipple, I'd have to pull up the tweet that he had, but he kind of ruled out a few of the things that were kind of going on out there. He said Steve Sipple of the Lincoln Journal-Star, of course, of Early Break as well, tweeted out that he's told Betts isn't injured or there is no team disciplinary issue. It's nothing like that. Yeah. I guess the leader in the clubhouse seems to be, from what I've been hearing, is that he just might not be completely committed to football. You know, he might not be a football type of guy, just naturally given those abilities and has made the most of it so far. But that might be kind of a problem as the grind is starting to get to him, and maybe a new coach in there, and Mickey Joseph, the type of guy that seems to be demanding 100% from you and winning the most out of you. That could also be weighing on him a little bit. Have you played with guys like that before that just are so naturally gifted, but they just don't like live and bleed and breathe the sport that they're playing?
Yeah, there's definitely been guys out there like that. I mean, we've heard that same situation that I can't say that I've played with any. I've played with some that just didn't give the full effort. So like I told you before in Boston with Joe Forte, I just watched his demeanor. Tremendously gifted, can score, can do so many things with the ball, and just wasn't able to put in the extra time, put in the extra hours, didn't want to do the work that usually the rookies and the younger players would have to do. They'd have to stay and do other certain drills and so forth. Just didn't want to put it in. And it ended up costing him his career. There are certain players out there that they're gifted at the sport. It just doesn't run in their veins. And so when it doesn't run in your veins, and it's never going to pan out and it's never going to work to your good. So it's, maybe he needs to just take a break, kind of get his mind right, get away from the sport, because a lot of people don't understand the depth that comes with playing a sport like that. It is like a full-time job. It is like all day from the time you wake up, you go to class, and after class, up until the sun goes down and beyond, it's in your book, it's on your film, it's all these different things. You're meeting not only with your group, your room, you're also meeting with the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator group, and then you come together as a whole team. So there's all kinds of aspects that can weigh on your mind and just kind of break you down.
Yeah, it's interesting. Casey Thompson, obviously new quarterback for Nebraska, was saying that he tries to dedicate at least 13 hours a day during the week to football, just to football, to film, to whatever it may be. If there's not practice going on, he'll go out there and do the extra. He's kind of the opposite example, a guy that does live and breathe and think about football as often as long as he's awake, basically. Xavier Betts might not be that type of guy. For what it's worth, in the NBA, we've heard from guys like Kyrie Irving. He's a guy that says, I'm not going to play till I'm 40. I'm just it's not just naturally gifted, but maybe not completely into basketball. And you can kind of see maybe that reflect on his career a little bit. Anthony Edwards, another guy to look forward. That was kind of a red flag in the pre-draft interview when they knew he was going to be the first-round pick. I mean, he's the talent, he's the most athletic. I mean, he's got the most upside, but he doesn't live and breathe basketball. So you kind of wonder how long you can do that. And you also wonder, for Xavier Betts' case in particular, maybe it was kind of the grind wearing on him, kind of getting adjusted to a new coach or whatever. And then you get spring break, you get a week off of football, and you just kind of think, you know what? I would just love if life could be like this, and I just didn't have to, live up to what everybody else wants me to be. But I don't necessarily have it within me. And again, this is just speculation, but that would make a little bit of sense there. We want to hear what you guys think too on the Starter Heyman text line 402-464-5685. You can also call in on the Lincoln hotline, same number, 402-464-5685. We got a text in say, I knew a guy who played for Nebraska, then went to the Miami Dolphins, but hated playing football and was so naturally gifted. It is kind of sad. I think you see that more often. It seems to be like the tall kid. There's always like 1'6'7" kid or something in every high school that's like really loves math or something and just isn't really too interested in basketball. And you try to get him interested as much as you can, but everybody's got their own interests and stuff like that. So it's hard to get too upset at a guy if he's not 100% in. I mean, that's what's asked of you at the D1 level. I mean, very few guys can get by with athleticism alone. But it would also make sense, if that is the case, why he hasn't been getting as many snaps over the last couple of seasons.
Yes.
That's been the number one thing just about everybody said that I've talked to about Husker football is, man, because it makes sense. Why isn't he playing?
Why isn't he playing more?
Big plays. He seems to be one of the most athletic of your group. Why isn't he playing? It would make sense if he's just, because you did hear he's just not consistent at practice. And you kind of think, well, what does that mean? Is he just not grabbing the playbook? I mean, but that's the answer so far. And that might make a little bit of sense as to why he hasn't been playing. But either way, if he doesn't return to this football team, I said it. I won't go as far as to say that I think that, add another loss to the football schedule or whatever your projection was. I did that for Wan'Dale Robinson, and I was right. I mean, I think it played out that type of loss end up hurting Nebraska and probably costing them a couple wins. I think with where Xavier is at this time in his career, I wouldn't necessarily put him in that category.
No, I don't think so. I gotta speak to my son. Like my son, for example, was a tremendous defensive end at one time, defensive lineman, and he was 6'6", 260, 250, and I brought him to Nebraska. I actually brought him to Nebraska. I took him to the university. I walked him around, both he and my daughter. I walked him around the campus, and I showed him inside the locker room, just the whole aspect of what Division I football looked like. And I told him, I said, hey, son, if you want this, your dad will help you to get there. But if you don't want it, it's okay. And he loved computers. He liked, doing cyber type stuff.
Yeah.
And so, he just didn't have the love in him like I did. I had the love for it. And the love is what drove me to be the best me that I could be as far as an athlete. And there are a lot of them like that. And I just don't know. He, like you said, talent, abilities, and all of those things can only take you so far. And beyond that, you got to look at Kobe. Look at Kobe and guys like that who just were extremely driven, and they basically was not going to take anything for a loss. They figured that each year was another year. There's always somebody coming behind me. I've got to be the best me that I can be, and that means every year. And so he's in the best shape. He's strong. He's physically ready and mentally prepared for what's there. And sometimes kids just don't have that.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, at least if this does end up sticking true, Nebraska does have some depth there. Again, along with Omar and Xavier, Omar had like 400 yards. Xavier had like 300 yards last year. So they're a little bit, there, but not number ones and number two type of numbers quite yet, which was expected the role that they were going to jump up into. So, not all this production is here at Nebraska, but between Omar Manning and Trey Palmer and Brody Belt and Oliver Martin coming back, Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, they're, some of the younger guys as well. There's enough guys there that I think that can step up into his position and probably try to duplicate what he does. But again, with those guys, I don't know if there's one as physically gifted that had quite the upside that he does. And so that's, I think, again, that, some different people are taking different looks at this. I think that's what hurts more than anything is you're just kind of getting cut away from the guy that probably, you kind of think at peak performance, if your team could make the most out of what they had, he was a big part of the top end of that, just because he's got the physical tools and he's shown the ability to have the big play ability. And then the other part of it is if it does turn out that way, again, maybe not the most productive player in his career quite yet, but that's a big loss for this team. And it seems to be becoming a trend for Nebraska football now to lose one of your biggest contributors in the offseason or throughout the season, whatever the case may be. Obviously, Wan'Dale, Maurice Washington, Greg Bell, you can go to the Luke McCaffreys even, going on down the line. It's a trend for this staff, especially with offensive skill position players, to kind of lose one of the best among the groups or one of the ones among the upside. Some people are saying this ultimately doesn't come back to Frost. This is a Xavier Betts thing. But here in year 5, not getting to 500 quite yet, we propelled Frost into the CEO role because it was like the last ditch effort to get this, this experiment to work out. As a CEO, everything lands back on you. I think at times you're seeing that, and Mark Cuban's always going through those struggles with the Dallas Mavericks, where just like everything is going to come back on you and your program, and especially if it becomes a trend. So again, I don't think this is one of those situations where it directly relates to a loss on the football on the football field, but it does take away from your upside a little bit.
Yeah, especially he was still young. And 6'3", he reminded me kind of like Terrell Owens type. He had that type of, he can get over the top of you. He can get deep. I still think he had some room to grow as far as his route running. His skill was not fully there yet, but he can go and grab it. up top. You could throw it and he'd go get it. But yeah, I still think he had some room to grow, and he just I feel bad. I mean, he's a Bellevue West guy, so I definitely feel bad about that. It was very disheartening to hear that was the case. But hopefully, listen, we're only speculating right now. We just still don't know the full details. We don't know what the outcome is fully going to be. There's still time to get back. Maybe not for spring, but definitely for the winter. So there's some parts to it there.
Well, and you've talked about before, even yourself, you've had times, in your college career where you're kind of thinking of walking away or going to a different place. How often does that happen and not get reported? Because you have to think, this is big news, obviously, because Scott Frost reported it, but you have to think there's several times. I mean, almost probably every athlete at one point is pretty close to saying maybe somewhere else would use me better or I just think that it probably happens more often than not where it goes unreported, but there's a guy missing for a day or two and you have to reel him back in.
Yeah. that was what they tried to do with me. Coach Brown and the crew. I went out there for a few practices. It went good and it was looking good, and then all of a sudden, I didn't show up. So it was they're like, "Hey, what's going on? Where's Strick at? Hey, my phone was ringing, and so I'm sure that could have been some parts of it as well. But yeah, man, that can't happen. It's hard when you have to speculate that way though, because there's so much stuff in the air that can be the answer to the question, and we don't necessarily know any of those, so it's not fitting. The pieces are not yet fitting. So
yeah. So we'll continue to follow this story. Hopefully, you can get kind of some more news out of it in the coming days. But who knows? We'll see. Hopefully, he can get back on the team. Maybe they can kind of convince him to come back to the team. That's at least the hope. Because as we've been talking, he's definitely got some upside to him. It is Thursday, so we are getting ready and preparing. I see out in the hallway for Thirsty Thursday, one of our favorite segments throughout the week. So we'll do that with Kevin Meyer of Meyer's Cork and Bottle. That's coming up next year on The Block.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill has 2 Lincoln locations that are great for any occasion. If you're downtown for a basketball game or a concert, stop by their newest spot at 10th and P. Don't forget to check out their social media pages to learn about any concerts on stage at Rosie. Want to avoid a busy downtown scene? Head over to the original Rosie on 14th and Highway 2, local hometown bar. There's plenty of TVs at both places and drink. What are you waiting for? Rosie Sports Bar and Grill at 10th and B and on South 14th.
Where's your binky, buddy?
You'd never give your baby a pacifier that has cigarette ash on it. But if you're smoking around your kids, it's kind of like that. Secondhand smoke contains thousands of toxic chemicals that can have a lasting effect on your child's health. Protect your children. Don't smoke around them or any child.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line. 1-800-QUIT-NOW. 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association.
What are you doing, Sip?
I thought chickens could use some more light in their lives. So you're building what exactly? It's a motion-censored switchboard.
You done it?
Are you sure you know what you're doing? Of course. Ow! Can't take a job for a professional. Just one more wire. Yep, there you go, right there. Don't be
What's the name of the club, y'all?
your electric needs at 217-3415.
Have you ever wanted to build a catapult? Have you ever wanted to launch something other than water balloons with a water balloon launcher? Do you want to be a national champion? Then you need to get a team and sign up for the National Avocado Launching Championship, May 21st in North Platte. That's right, the National Avocado Launching Championship is taking place right here in Nebraska. Launch avocados for fame and glory. Sign up at avocadolaunching.com. That is avocadolaunching.com.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauce to toss the Wingstop. But you just brought all the groceries home from the store. That's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the Wingstop push you up. Mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the burger's invented. Get it delivered at Wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop, located at 5001 O Street.
Action Plumbing and Electric ensures our home and office HVAC systems run smoothly throughout the year to provide maximum comfort and convenience. Routine maintenance reduced our operating costs, thus improving the efficiency of our unit. Consider a maintenance agreement to ensure you too receive priority for services scheduled. This helps meet manufacturer warranty requirements. Action delivers honest quality services you can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com. Why wait until Friday to start your weekend?
Go ahead, start right now.
You're thirsty now, and 93.7 The Ticket is here to help you stock up.
Just in time for the weekend when I like to hit the clubs.
Time to broaden your horizons and try some new wine and beer. It's Thirsty Thursday with Kevin Meyer from Meyer's Cork and Bottle.
Oh, that was a good one.
Wow. There's something different about that bottle?
There is. It's a sparkling wine. That's why it made such a wonderful noise.
Yeah.
You knew that was coming too.
That's right. That's right. I was going to launch the cork, but then I thought I might hit Nate in the face. So I didn't.
Yeah, it happens. What you gonna do?
Nope. I opened that too far away from the mic.
We're in a little bit trying to get our video cameras going. There we go. This is time for Thirsty Thursday here with Kevin Meyer of Meyer's Cork in Bottle. Kevin is you heard the pop, you heard the can getting opened, and we've got some friends here along with us. Hopefully Strick can hear us as well. Strick, are you there?
I can hear you fine, guys. Hopefully I'm in the block.
Yeah, you are. We can hear you this time. We like to include you when we can, every once in a while at least.
Look, everybody and their mama shows up on the block on Thirsty Thursday, bro. Everybody wants to get a taste of what's going on.
Oh yeah,
Meyer's Cork and Bottle.
That's the way we roll, man. That's just we bring the party to the station.
We have Nick Stannard, of course, of the Happy Hour in here with us, as well as Nate Britton, of course, of our producer, and he's got a Tim Tebow shirt on.
Oh yeah,
So
Tim
that's all
Tebow
good.
fan, Strick.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, come on.
No, well, there you go.
Those-
You led him the wrong way. How about you, Kevin? You big Tim Tebow guy?
I wouldn't say I'm a big Tebow guy, but appreciate him as an athlete. I did like the Heisman commercials where where he's driving and hitting the curvy road, and they're like,
Oh, with
good
Kyler Murray in the car?
it's like, good thing you got the autopilot. I heard you can't hit the curve. It's like, that's not what we were talking about. But yeah.
Yeah, it's if you are following along online, it's impossible to get everybody's faces on here, but we're trying to do our best, and most importantly, we got to show you what we're drinking here. What are we starting with, Kevin?
Well, let's start with the Radler.
The Radler. It sounds like the Riddler.
Radler.
From Prost Brewing
Ooh, the
Company.
Radler.
It's a German-style grapefruit lager. And basically what a Radler is grapefruit juice and beer blended together, and it's meant to be refreshing and lighten the alcohol content. And so, Radlers are great for like a Sunday brunch, for a golf game. Anytime you want to have a good time, but sometimes it's a marathon, not a sprint. And this is
this is your drink then.
I think it's a good way to go because it only comes in at about this is 4%, which is actually on the higher end for a Radler. A lot of them only come in at 2.9 or 3.2, and so this one comes in at 4%. But Prost is a brewing company that is dedicated to emulating the German purity law of beers, and what that is something that they came up with in the 1800s. And they made a law that basically said the only thing you can make beer from is water, hops, grain, and yeast, and that's it. So none of the, chocolate chip cookie dough stouts, none of that stuff. It's just a fundamental, good tasting, well-made beer. And that's what this Prost Brewing Company tries to emulate. And this is their Radler style lager. So they just blend in some grapefruit juice with it. And it's a natural grapefruit juice. It's not, like a soda pop or like Squirt or something like that. It's real grapefruit juice.
So the Rattler is not just from Prost. Then a lot of different places try to emulate this.
Yeah, there's Stiegel is a very popular Radler. I believe they are Austrian. Comes in the pink can with the stripes on it. That was probably the first one that came in popularity in this market anyway. But now we're seeing more and more Radlers being released across the board. As you can taste, it's light. It's just got a hint of that grapefruity flavor. It's citrusy. It almost kind of tastes like a grapefruit mimosa.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if Nick is ready to handle that, man. I don't think he's ready.
It tastes strict. You can see me on the quad box that we have. It's really good. So it's not like a seltzer. It's not a beer. What would you define it as?
Well, it's a beer. It's
Okay.
a lager.
So it is a beer.
It is a beer.
Okay.
It just has grapefruit juice added to it.
Okay.
And so, basically the difference between a lager and an ale is that lagers are cold fermented. And so they take a lot longer to produce. They're generally fermented about 45 degrees. And so a lot of times to complete fermentation with a lager is going to take up six or 8 weeks. Whereas an ale are warm fermented, and they also ferment at the top of the fermentation tank. And those can ferment completely in less than a week. And so a good lager actually takes a lot more time to produce, even though they're going to be a little more basic in terms of their fundamental ingredients, because again, it's just like hops, water, grain, yeast. That's it. Now the kicker is that it's even more challenging to do well, because if there's any impurities or any off flavors, there's nothing else to hide it. And so it's the beers are fundamentally basic, but also complex in the fact that you can't screw them up, because any little tiny screw up is going to stick out like a sore thumb.
And what is this? You get a 24-pack or a 6-pack down at Kevin Myers?
These come in a 6-pack.
Oh, 6-pack. Yeah.
Yep.
How much do they run for?
I believe about $9-10.
Oh, well
Yep.
worth it for
Like I said, good lawn mowing beer, good golfing beer.
I was thinking lake out on
Lake,
the lake.
yeah.
Sounds
Again,
super light.
when you pop your first one at 10 a.m.,
So is it one that you would use on a good tailgate day there at Memorial Stadium?
it'd be a great way to start, with your breakfast burrito. Start with a a Radler. And like I said, on those days where it's a marathon, not a sprint, this is what you got to go after.
Quick question. So, Kevin, if I want to get twisted, right? I want to twist my top real. Am I going to go lager? Or am I going to go ale?
Well, generally lagers are not going to be high alcohol by volume. So I would say if you're in for the sprint and not the marathon, then you're going to go with an ale, something with a little bit of a higher kick to it.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
It all depends how much time you got, man. You're retired, so you gotta milk the clock a little bit. Those of us that have a small window and gotta be back up and hit it again the next day. It's more of a sprint. So it just kind of depends.
He's Kevin Meyer of Meyer's Cork and Bottle. Of course, this is Thirsty Thursday here on the block. One of our favorite segments of the week. We've now got our second taste now being brought to us. What is this that we're going to have?
So this is a sparkling wine, and the reason that I don't call it champagne is because it doesn't come from the Champagne region of France. And so basically the term champagne has become generalized like Q-tip or Jello or Band-Aid. But technically, if the wine does not come from that region in northern France, it is not champagne. It's therefore just a sparkling wine. Now, this is a California sparkling wine called Domaine Laurier, but it is made in the traditional champagne method, or what they call méthode champenoise. And what that means is, among a few other things, but the most important thing that makes it méthode champenoise is that the secondary fermentation that gives the wine bubbles happens in the bottle. Ooh. So
that's pretty cool.
Basically, how champagne is made is that they make it from 3 different grape types, usually about a third, and a third of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, your fave, Strick, And then a sister grape of Pinot Noir, one called Pinot Meunier. And they crush.
Wait. Can I get that before you finish? Can I get that Pinot Meunier? Can I get that by itself?
Yeah, you can. It's pretty rare, but you're down in Florida, so that there's you probably have like a Total Wine or something down there. Or what's your big wine store down in Florida?
Total Wine.
Yeah. Okay. So you walk into a Total Wine and say, "Hey, my buddy told me about this grape called a Pinot Meunier. Do you have any?" And they'll be able to hook you up.
Pinot Meunier.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us the process. You were telling us the process.
All right, so let's go. So initially the wine is without bubbles, or what they call a still wine, and then it's put into the bottle and not filtered. And so the remaining spent yeast and sediment is in the bottle, and they add a temporary cork. And then they go through this process called riddling, where the bottles are gradually twisted and tilted, bringing up that sediment to the neck of the bottle. And then they'll take liquid nitrogen, they'll freeze the neck, remove the temporary cork, and let a little bit of the juice come out that takes away the sediment and the spent yeast. They'll add what's called dosage, which is essentially sugar and wine, and they put that in the bottle and then add the real cork, which is, if you're watching on TV, this is what those look like.
Yeah.
And then also put the cage on it. And the cage has a name. It's called a muselet, means muzzle, like a dog muzzle. Because of the immense amount of pressure on the inside of the bottle, that cage is very, very important. So what happens when they add the dosage? It reactivates any yeast that's left in there, and it ferments doesn't create any more alcohol, but it creates carbon dioxide. And since the carbon dioxide is trapped inside of the bottle, that's how the wine gets its bubbles. So that's essentially champagne making in a quick synopsis.
After studying champagne, are you pretty fluent in French? You know a lot of words.
No, my French is terrible.
Oh, okay.
I had a Spanish minor in college, so I tend to pronounce every foreign word as a Spanish word. But just being in the wine business for over 20 years, you sort of learn the little tricks of the trade. And basically, my way to speak French is don't pronounce the last syllable. So, this is called Domaine Laurier. So it's Laurier. So you just say Laurier, and you don't pronounce the last syllable, right? So, Champenois, same thing. So just don't pronounce the last syllable, and you're good.
We got a question on the text line in regards to the Radler. Is it the same thing as a shandy?
Essentially, yeah. Shandies generally imply the addition of lemonade, whereas a Radler generally implies the addition of grapefruit juice. But I don't know that there's a hard and fast rule. But yeah, same principle.
Kevin, I've been going to a lot of weddings recently, and they bring out what they say is champagne. Is it usually champagne, or is it a sparkling wine that they bring out?
Probably just a sparkling wine.
Okay.
Generally speaking, a bottle of true champagne is going to start at about $50 and go north of there. So, when you're feeding a group of 300 people, chances are, unless you're at a really hoity-toity wedding, chances are they're not using real champagne.
Is it rare, or is it just because of the region?
Well, let's face it. When you buy French wines, you do pay a premium for the history and the prestige of where that wine comes from. And the French are masters of creating prestige. And so that's where, like, your Dom Perignon, your Cristal, your Ace of Spades, these are all high-end champagnes that fetch anywhere from $250 to $500 a bottle. And it's not necessarily that it's better than the $75 or $100 stuff. Some of it is, but again, there can be a diminishing return. So at some point, you're no longer paying for what's in the bottle. You're paying for the history and the prestige of where it comes from, or the limited availability. So say they only make 1,000 bottles. Yeah, they can charge you $1,000 a bottle if there's only 1,000 of them for the whole world to have. So especially if it's good stuff.
So basically, it's like this. It's like you live in California or whatever, and you live in Beverly Hills, and you have a 3,000, 4,000 square foot house, and you can live out in Rancho Cucamonga with the same house. And basically, it's because you live in Beverly Hills is why you're paying the premium price. Basically,
10 times the price. Yep, yeah. I think that's a pretty good analogy.
Okay.
Or you could take that same house and put it in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh wow!
There
you go.
So But I mean, I've been to Beverly Hills, and it's all prestige. It's not real. Like,
Yeah.
exactly. There's nothing there. And at Rodeo Drive, you think, it's a super hoity-toity. It's like 2 blocks of really small little tiny shops, and they just have fancy signs on there. And it's like, add a zero, and it's like, it's fake. It's not real.
Yeah, what they show you on the movies, they show you walking all the dogs and all of that. You're only going like a block and a half, my guy. It's like you act like
yeah. And then you get that block and a half away, and then it's a tent city, a bunch of homeless people begging for money. It's like, no.
This is really good. I like this a lot.
So how much? I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the uncorking that you said, similar to a muzzle, but I'm not going to try
the
to
mucilage.
Yeah, mucilage. How often is that? Pretty rare, I guess, in uncorking.
Actually, with a full sparkling wine, the mucilage is important, because without it, they blow corks all the time. So it's important to that cage is on there to hold that cork in place. And this is done in the traditional champagne method, or the méthode champenoise. What makes this such a great buy is that they're under $20.
Oh, nice.
These are like $17 on the shelf. Really, really good stuff. Now, this is a brut also, and that's one thing that I didn't talk about that I meant to. There's 5 levels of sweetness in sparkling wine. There's Grand Brut, which is your driest, and that's like what Dom Perignon is. That's a Grand Brut. Then you see Brut, which is dry. Then you have extra dry, which is actually not as dry as brut, and I'll tell you how that came to fruition in just a second. Then there's demi-sec, which means semi-sweet. Well, literally means semi-dry, but it really is semi-sweet. And then there's sec, which is sweet. Now, mainly you're going to see the middle 3, the brut, the demi-sec, and the extra dry. But you're generally, in the grand scheme of things, there are 5 levels. Now, there used to only be 4 levels, but as the romance of champagne began to spread throughout Europe a couple of centuries ago, the British monarch commissioned the French to make them champagne. And they said, okay, well, how do you like it? And they're like, well, we're British, so we're dry, or we have dry sense of humor, and we like our sherry dry, and everything's very dry. And so they sent him the brut, and it was too dry for him. So they sent it back. And so they added more of that dosage, the wine syrup, to sweeten it up just a little bit. But they called it extra dry just to appease the British monarch's ego. But really, it's, I think if you're French and you're drinking the extra dry, it's like whatever the noise they make.
That's fascinating.
Are most of the origination stories for wine and just alcohol in general from Europe? It seems.
Yeah. I mean, most of the traditional grape varietals, they're from a species called Vitis vinifera. And that's your Chardonnay, your Merlot, your Cabernet, your Pinot Noir. Those are all from that same species of grape varietal. Now, the stuff we grow here is from a species called Vitis riparia, which is like your old Missouri riverbank wild vine. So it's like the stuff that your grandmother would make jams and jellies from. Now, what they've done is that they've taken that species, they've hybridized it, and then they grafted onto wine rootstock or vineyard stock, so that it behaves like it creates a trellis like vineyard vines do, even though they're genetically different. And the only reason that they do that is because the traditional grape varieties, like your Merlot, your Cabernet, your Sauvignon Blanc, your Chardonnay, those just don't grow here because our climate's too volatile. We get the freeze is too low and the heat spike is too high. They need more of that temperate climate.
Yeah, not ideal for Nebraska.
And Kevin, I know, correct me if I'm wrong, the best that a bottle of wine is right when you open it. Say you have a wine stopper and then you stop it, you put it back on the wine, the bottle. How long will that actually last you before it goes bad?
Well, I mean, there are some wines that actually need to breathe.
Okay.
And so, and there's like, you've seen decanters, and what a decanter does, it accelerates the breathing process. And it basically will spread the wine out to create a surface area that's more exposed to oxygen. Now, again, that's a bell curve. So it'll get better, and then it'll hit its peak and then get worse and worse. And so I would say, like, most white wines are going to fully oxidize within about 24 hours if you don't do anything else to preserve them. Okay. Red wines, you can usually go back. I would say if you don't, add like some sort of a preserver, like a gas or a pump or something along those lines, usually 24 to 48 hours is going to be your best window. Beyond that, they'll start to sour. And basically they oxidize, and then they get to the point where they just don't taste very good. Essentially, they're turning into vinegar at that point. So I would say a good red wine, you can go back 1 to 2 days later. A white wine, I would say drink within 24 hours.
Wow. And Strick, before as you finish your drink there, we want to get catch up on what you're drinking as usual as well.
Cantina Malbec.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites.
It's solid. It's actually pretty solid. I actually like it. I like a good Malbec, or I like a good Pinot Noir. But what's the other one called?
Pinot Meunier.
Pinot Meunier. I like the way that sounds. Pinot Meunier.
Yeah.
It's spelled Meunier. It's pronounced Meunier, but you can phonetically spell it and say, "Hey, my buddy told me to look for some of this," and I think you really like it. It's not very common. It's not very prolific, but I know there's some Pinot Meunier being grown in Oregon, and you might find some others that a Total Wine store is going to have. So look it up.
And you just sound cool with your buddies if you bring something new that
check
they haven't heard of. Yeah. Like, this is my own information. I didn't hear this from Kevin Meyer of Meyer's Cork and Bottle, but we did, and we like to every Thursday. One of our favorite segments here, Thirsty Thursday. Before we wrap up real quick, give us a recap of what we have here and then how much of it's available for us.
So we have Domaine Laurier Brut, which is a California sparkling wine done in the traditional champagne method or Méthode Champenoise. And we have Prost Radler, which is traditional German lager blended with fresh grapefruit juice.
We have one question off the text line that just came in. Does champagne have the same shelf life as wine?
Champagne is a wine. It just happens to have bubbles. And generally speaking, yeah. In fact, a lot of times a champagne will have a longer shelf life than a traditional, just a regular white wine because they're highly acidic. The Champagne region in France is located up north, so it's a very cool growing season. So the grapes are more acidic, and so that creates a preservative for the wine, making it last longer.
Interesting.
Yeah, very cool stuff. That is Kevin Meyer of Meyer's Cork and Bottle. We'll have to wrap it up for Thursday as we're up against the break. But coming up next, it is time for your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. It's time for Shootout with Strick. If you do win, like I said, get $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. Today's topic is the Sweet 16. So give us a call right now, 402-464-5685. First one in line gets a chance to beat Strick and a chance at the chicken. That's coming up next here on the blog.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill has 2 Lincoln locations that are great for any occasion. If you're downtown for a basketball game or a concert, stop by their newest spot at 10th and P. Don't forget to check out their social media pages to learn about any concerts on stage at Rosie's. If you want to avoid a busy downtown scene, head over to the original Rosie's just south of 14th and Highway 2 for a feeling of your local hometown bar. There's plenty of TVs at both places and great food and drink. What are you waiting for? Rosie Sports Bar and Grill at 10th and P and on South 14th Street.
This is your high school minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Harrison Ars. In boys soccer on Monday, Lincoln East won over Lincoln Southwest 2-1. Lincoln North Star won over Grand Island 2-1. Lincoln Northeast dominated Bellevue East in a shutout with 7 different scores, winning it 7-0. Lincoln Southeast coasted to a win over Norfolk 4-1. In Waverly, got a win over Blair 4-1. Carson Bretlinger from Waverly had 2 goals. For the girls, Kearney won over Lincoln Northeast 4-1. Lincoln Lutheran edged out a win against Omaha Concordia 2-1. Last year's leading scorer from Lincoln Lutheran, Sierra Springs, had 2 goals in the second half to bring her team to a win. Lincoln Pius swept Fremont 4-0. Abby Vocek would score 2 goals in only 4 seconds of the game, the fastest goal scored in school history. And Norris put together a dominant game beating Beatrice 10-0. Kennedy Sullivan would put together a hat trick. This has been your High School Minute, sponsored by Southeast Community College, with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford. Learn more today at southeast.edu.
Are you tired of lousy internet and faceless customer service? It's time to experience local, honest, hassle-free, and exceptional. That's the Allo Promise. We not only provide crazy fast fiber internet, crystal clear TV, and dependable phone service, but we choose to become a part of the communities that we serve and love when everyone calls or stops forward to say hello. So don't settle for mediocre, settle with Allo. Visit us at allofiber.com/local.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff at brokersinsurancene.com.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauced and tossed Wingstop. But you just brought a haul of groceries home from the store. It's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the flavor experts at Wingstop hook you up with mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the fridge was invented. Get it delivered at wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop located at 5001 O Street. Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Cloudy skies for the majority of the day with some late afternoon clearing. We'll top out at around 47. Winds not nearly as strong out of the north-northwest at 15 to 20. Overnight, mainly clear, low 33. Partly cloudy tomorrow, windy again. Northwest winds gusting to 30 with a high of 56. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Do you know the common signs of transmission trouble?
Your engine revs before falling into gear, shifting is rough, or you're leaking reddish-brown fluid.
Knowing the signs could mean repair instead of replace.
That's where we come in. We're certified transmission.
The job done right at the right price.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back here on the block on 93.7 The Ticket. Have no fear, we don't have the correct open there, but we are still doing Shootout with Strick right here, and we do have Dave on the line. Dave, today's topic is, I believe, the Sweet 16. Yeah, the Sweet 16, this year's Sweet 16. Have you been watching the tournament?
Bits and pieces.
Hey, well, that should be doing enough because we're just going to ask you bits and pieces about the tournament, so hopefully it aligns with what you've been watching here. It is the chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. All you have to do is eat Strick. Strick's eating potato chips, if you can see it on the Saturday video stream. Very much enjoying his potato chips, but maybe that'll be a distraction for him, and maybe he won't get too many points today. Strick, are you about ready to go? We'll wait till you finish that bite.
It goes good with the wine. So,
yeah.
Let's get it.
All right. We'll turn down the music a little bit so it doesn't blow everybody's ears out, and we'll go in 3, 2, 1. Who is Duke's leading scorer this season, Paolo Banchero or Wendell Moore?
Banchero.
That's correct. Who did St. Peter's beat to get into the Sweet 16, Murray State or New Mexico State?
Murray State.
That's correct. Who is the only remaining 5 seed, Houston or UCLA?
Houston.
That's correct as well. Villanova will play Michigan in what region, West or South?
South.
That is correct. And how many 1 seeds remain?
2.
It is actually 3, so you end up with 12 points. Still pretty solid. Just one question of the money ball there away from a perfect score. 4 is still a very good score, and it'll be difficult for Dave to beat. But, Dave, you still have your opportunity here. It's either or questions, so we'll see if you can get 4 out of it. Are you ready?
Oh, I guess.
All right. He doesn't sound too enthusiastic about it, but we'll go in 3, 2, 1. There are 2 remaining 11 seeds, Michigan and who? Iowa State or North Carolina?
Iowa State.
That's correct. Who did Michigan beat to get into the Sweet 16, Texas or Tennessee?
Tennessee.
That's correct. Who was Gonzaga's leading scorer this season, Chet Holmgren or Drew Timme?
What's the last one?
It was the last one, Drew Timme. And Purdue will play St. Peter's in what region, Midwest or East?
East.
That is correct as well. For the win, who's the only 1 seed not to make the Sweet 16?
4, 3, 2, 1.
Villanova.
Oh, Villanova did make the Sweet 16. There are 2 seeds, so it was actually Baylor, but you still scored 4 points, so that will tie Strick for the moment. That means we go
Good job.
to the tiebreaker, and that is where we ask Strick, and then you just go higher or lower. So, Strick, what seed is Miami?
Five.
He says a 5 seed, so you just have to go higher or lower, Dave. Do you think they're above or below a 5 seed?
And which school was it again?
This is the Miami Hurricanes.
He said 5. I'll say below.
Below,
I mean,
as in below 5.
bigger than a 5.
Bigger than a 5. That's it's a confusing question. But either way, I think that what you said is ultimately a winner because it is the 10 seed for Miami that leaves you with the tiebreaker and the win. Very confusing. But either way, you've deserved your shout out and your $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Boom shakalaka. Give me a hell yeah.
He said, "Drink some more wine."
You want some wine?
No, give him some more.
Oh, give him some more wine. They at least give him a little bit more wine. Would you like to take the high road or talk trash? We always give you the option.
Say that once more.
I said, would you like to talk trash to Strick or just take the high road? You always get the option.
I'll just take the high road because I think he had charity on me.
All right, fair enough.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
There he goes. Goes our winner. Dave wins $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. We do it every day, and that one went to the tiebreaker. Usually, I ask afterwards about the tiebreaker, but we already got to that one. So a great opportunity there. I did want to mention this. I know this isn't. We'll get into a little bit more of the Sweet 16 action here around the corner. This game's not tonight, but Kansas actually has the opportunity tomorrow night to supplant Kentucky as the winningest team in college basketball. Right now, they are all tied up. When you think of college basketball, is Kansas, the originator of the sport? Is that the first team that comes to your mind, Strick? Obviously, other than Nebraska, where you played.
I mean, the crazy thing about it is Kansas has always they're always good enough to get there and do some things. As of late, they seem like they're always the one that gets there and gets clipped. So I think that would be a tremendous opportunity for them to be able to because Kentucky, you think of blue blood, get it done, and regularly. But Kansas is one of those teams that it just they seem to always get there or get around it or get a sniff and get a smell of it, but they just can't seem to pull the trigger to get it done. Just always pull talent. They get the talent. Just somehow, some way, they just can't get it done. But we'll see. Yeah. Hopefully, they'll make a run because right now they're not in my book as getting it done. Yeah, because Roy Williams never won a title there. Bill Self has the one with Mario Chalmers hitting that clutch shot against that Memphis team. Of course, they have the Danny Manning and Larry Brown back in the day. But it's kind of it would surprise you, I suppose, if you were told that they've only had one in since 1988 or whatever it was. But they've been to for what it's worth. It's about winning every day and being there, right? You first got in position 32 straight years this year in the NCAA tournament. That's pretty unfathomable for Nebraska fans who've only been to one since the 90s. So it's kind of crazy to see the those two kind of put together. But Kansas, especially for me, is the first team I would think of when I think of college basketball. Growing up in the Big 12, that was the team when they came to Lincoln. You could just feel. Was it the same way in the Big 8, where you could just tell there was extra, motivation and excitement from the crowd when the Jayhawks entered the building? No question about it. The energy was just on fire when Kansas. I think one of the greatest ones is when we actually beat Kansas when Dick Vitale was in the building.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And that was off the meat rack to hear him. Oh, baby, you know how he is. He gets so hyped up. And then I think what happened in that game too, it was a close game, but I think we ended up getting a steal and Terrence Badgett, had a runaway and ends up dunking it at the buzzer, before the buzzer.
Oh yeah,
that's how we won.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he went nuts. Dickie went nuts.
Could you hear Dickie V when you were on the court?
No, not on the court, but of course, you do some things. You do something real nice, you might run by him and get a little
Give him
He's a diaper dandy, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dickie V, it's great to see him at least doing well with his battle with cancer. Just what a gem for college basketball he's been.
There's no one that's going to be able to beat. Once Dickie V leaves, there's no one that's going to be able to surpass or emulate or replace Dickie V. He is an iconic voice in college basketball, and he's a staple there, and it's going to be very sad when he has to leave it.
Yeah, and I know he hasn't even called a championship game or a Final Four yet, just because of the way the contracts have worked out. I'd love to see him get in at least one before his career is over. So hopefully they can make that happen. We got to take a quick break, though. It is we are up against the break, so we'll go ahead and take it here on the block. When we come back, we will we'll talk again a little bit about Xavier Betts and him no longer being with the football program, since that's part of the day. But we do have Mitch Sherman coming up at 5:25 of The Athletic. We'll be able to talk to him about that. Also, some Sweet 16 action tonight. We'll dive into that here next here on the block.
What are you doing, Sip?
I thought the chickens could use some more light in their lives.
So you're building what exactly?
It's a motion sensor.
Are you sure you know what you're doing?
I mean, I can't imagine how much happier Browns fans were to see this become a meme.
Call Joe and Ambition Electric for any of your electric needs at 402-217-3441.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff at brokersinsuranceNE.com.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. If you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300 or go to choicestreatmentcenter.com.
Working at Continental and Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour, and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour. Wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premium. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com. Keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. FM 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland. 3-7 The Ticket veteran and Ortega connoisseur, Jake Bockelman.
I like Ortega.
Coming at you live from the Capo Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach.
This is my personal prediction. Because I feel like Baker Mayfield's situation is so complicated. No team is going to be excited.
We're back here on the block on 93.7 The Ticket. Happy Sweet 16 Day to everybody out there. And, of course, we will dive into that here in a few minutes. I did want to recap what we got going on here in a few minutes. Mitch Sherman of The Athletic will join us around 5:25, where we can jump into some Husker topics, because the biggest news of the day is Xavier Betts no longer with the football team. Scott Frost announced that earlier today at his press conference. I know we went over it a little bit strict, but for the new listeners, what was your first thoughts about Xavier Betts not being on the football team?
Yeah, it was odd. I mean, like I said before in the previous hour, it was. I can't overly speak on it because I did the same thing. You know, I was in spring practice when I was there, and then I didn't show up. I knew I was getting calls. I don't think Tom. Let me just say, I don't think Tom Osborne handled it the same way because I'm sure he fielded some same questions. Well, you know, I know Strick was out here, but all of a sudden, you know, Strick is no longer here. So, you know, what's going on? Well, Strick is no longer part of the team. I don't think Tom Osborne handled it the same way. But yeah, it's pretty tough because it's so much speculation. We just don't know what the true answer is. We don't know what he may be dealing with. We don't know if it's something internally. We don't know if it's something family related. We don't know if he's just burnt out. And you know, Scott didn't give us much to go on in that element. He did seem a little frustrated, so there seemed to be some frustration there. But then he cleared that up to say that it wasn't disciplinary. It wasn't a disciplinary thing. So, you know, at that point, then you could only speculate that he's just tired. He's burnt out. He's mentally drained. The competition maybe got to him. Or maybe he just don't want it. He just don't really want to play football. He'd much rather just kind of get through it and move on with his life. So it's very unfortunate because he definitely had tremendous upside and so much left to offer to the University of Nebraska.
Yeah, and just the way that Frost was kind of wording it is he says he's no longer on the football team, but it sounded like kind of open-ended, like welcome back if they can fix or iron out whatever the problem necessarily seems to be. So I think that there is a bit of hope, at least from what I've seen from the Husker fan base, that he would be able to return. And it is a hope. I mean, he's not one of those guys that just leaves the team and you just go, oh, well, they've got other guys to replace him. He's got, you know, kind of rare athleticism, you know, great size. He's one of those guys, him along with Omar Manning, they look the part. They look like, you know, the number 1 and number 2 receiver, and they have the athleticism for it. So it's just about getting it together, and it hasn't maybe quite come together yet. But for Xavier Betts, you know, it seemed to be like, even if he wasn't knowing, you know, didn't know the playbook or whatever, because that was what we've been hearing, not necessarily not knowing the playbook, but what we've been hearing is lack of consistency in practice. Why he wasn't getting as many reps as maybe some of us would have liked to see, considering his athletic ability. They would still give him an end around a game, and an end around, you know, at one time he broke one away for 83 yards. But they would at least do it once a game just because he was that special of an athlete. They knew that he could break it, and he did a few times on those end arounds. So we'll kind of see and follow and see how that goes with Xavier Betts. And you know, hopefully for Nebraska's sake, he does return on the good side of things. And this is where we're kind of used to us being Husker fans, right? Like, we're very well trained now at learning bad news and how we react to it. But there was good news last night, at least for the basketball program. As I think it was Husker Online and Robin Washut caught up to Blaise Keita and confirmed his commitment at this point in time to the Nebraska basketball program. And I suppose after Matt Abdelmassih left, there was, you know, a report out there that he was kind of a maybe as far as a commitment. It didn't take long for Fred Hoiberg and staff to get in there and make sure that he's coming. A big part, you know, kind of that true center, that big, you know, he's a 6'11", number 1 center as far as community or the JC, the JUCO level goes. So he's a big get for Nebraska, probably along with Ramel Lloyd. People are looking forward to those guys getting here. And now the Ramel Lloyd thing is out there. We'll kind of see if he's still as interested with that Matt Abdelmassih, and maybe it has nothing to do with that Abdelmassih with these guys too. You know, young kids change their minds all the time, but certainly huge for Blaise Keita to confirm his commitment, especially after Eduardo Andre decided to hit the transfer portal the other day.
Well, there's no question about it. I think I had the opportunity to look at Blaise Keita and some of his film, and one of the things I love about him is he's different from Walker, where Walker is a downhill attack, face you up, take you off the dribble, and counter you type of guy. Where Blaise Keita is a guy that actually can play with his back to the basket, and he has a tremendous touch around the basket. He knows how to find his way and just navigate in the interior when someone is creating, or he knows how to create passing lanes. I'm not going to say he's a tremendous leaper, but he has the ability to score and find different ways with both hands. He can go over both shoulders. He's got a tremendous turnaround with a little fade on it that I like about him. But, definitely Hoiberg put out all stops, went out there, met with him down there in Kansas, got an opportunity to sit down with him. And I think, as we said before, Matt Abdelmassih and Hoiberg, man, they go beyond just coaching relationship. They are actually friends. So I didn't in any way foresee or speculate that Matt Abdelmassih was talking negative about Nebraska basketball or Fred Hoiberg or the staff in any form or fashion. It comes down to similar as being traded is a business deal. And you found that because of the relationship, though, there was some question that came from Blaise Keita. But other than that, Blaise Keita basically stated that he said, I want to play Big Ten basketball. That is a tremendous, get. And to be able to have him for 3 years, now you've got a staple. You've got somebody that's stable. Now, if the decision comes from Walker to leave, you've got somebody that has back to the basket abilities, who has a 1.5% block, inside. So he gets 1.5 blocks a game. He's somebody that's going to protect the rim. And you got to understand too, in community or JUCO basketball, I was about to say community college. In JUCO basketball, it's very perimeter dominated, right? And so being that it's perimeter dominated, his scoring numbers aren't going to be tremendous. But what he does have is he has that, what we talked about with Walker, is he has that 15 to 18 foot jumper. He's got that. He can hit that, face you up, pop, and hit that shot. That's something that they're gonna be extremely excited about, getting someone who has that type of ability to include with Goggles and what he brings to the table in the ability to stretch the floor.
Yeah, and he's a big guy. Like I said, anybody that's 6'11" and that can play and put up those type of numbers. He's number one in the JUCO rankings at his position for a reason. He's earned that, and he comes in, I guess, a little bit more mature than you would think as a freshman. So you expect him to be able to pick it up quickly and help this team immediately at a position they desperately need. Speaking of his maturity too, he's got that Greg Oden type of deal where he looks like he's 35. Yeah. So that will also be kind of something that's fun to react to. I think Husker fans will probably have a little bit of fun with that once he hits the court. But this was a big part of and maybe the biggest part. Again, you could argue Ramel Lloyd, you could argue Blaise Keita, the biggest part of that recruiting class in the fear of making those staff changes, because that could disrupt some decisions as far as guys returning, as far as guys coming in, because Matt Abdelmassih was so instrumental in recruiting and putting all those packages together. It's good to see at least he'll still leave a lasting impression for Nebraska, and the fact that they'll be able to bring those guys in, hopefully all of them. But as of right now, in the very least, Blaise Keita set to come into Nebraska. And as I mentioned,
getting Ramel Lloyd is the next phase that has to probably happen. Not only because of the fact that your point guard, you have a point guard deficit right now, but Ramel Lloyd is actually making Sierra Canyon. He runs that ship. They have some tremendous talent out there. They all are distributors, but he definitely is one of the ones that helps to kind of get things moving and going out there with what they're doing in Sierra Canyon. So to get him to be able to, at least, if not in a backup role, you're going to get something that's solid there, and they're going to have a lot of guys that have the ability to play point guard, but are not traditional point guards as he is. He is a traditional point guard. So I would hope that they would either be able to find that or keep him to be able to make the ship run a little bit smoother than it did in times past.
Yeah, and it's just as far as there's a lot to break down with your new point guard, your new team. It's going to be a whole new group together out there. But with Ramel Lloyd, along with Sam Griesel, the South Dakota State transfer that we got the other day, those are 6'6" point guards. And right. I know everybody was really excited about Delano Bannon as a 6'9" point guard. Obviously now playing in the NBA. I don't know if that experiment completely worked at Nebraska. Just because, the team didn't win, and he ended up being benched by the end of his season here before declaring for the NBA. But So maybe it doesn't get you as excited as maybe it once would, but that's going to be a pretty tall team for a team that struggled rebounding and for what it's worth too, Sam Griesel, had some pretty good rebounding numbers in certain games when he was playing out at South Dakota State. I think averaged near 5 as the guard. That's pretty solid numbers. So that was the biggest problem for Nebraska. Some big point guards, just a tall team overall, and Blaise Keita in there maybe could fix that rebounding issue.
Yeah, it definitely can. And that was one of the things that basically Iowa had for their success. They didn't have anything in particular as far as size-wise. They just all across the board got it done. Keegan Murray was a tremendous rebounder for his side. His brother was also for his size. The other twins were good for their size. They all were just that 6'7", 6'8" type frame, and they just all got the job done. So that's the part that I think across the board that Nebraska can improve in, and it could pose a problem if they use it right, no question.
Yeah, so that's it. It's always fun. I know Husker basketball is over. I know the Sweet 16's on a roll, and I know that they haven't been good the last couple of years, but I still love talking Husker basketball and kind of thinking of what it's going to shape out for next year. I know it's always a next year discussion with Nebraska basketball. Hopefully, we can kind of turn that page and get excited about the team next year. I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get people too excited about it just because they bought in before. And things just have not turned to wins more than anything for Fred Hoiberg. But hopefully a couple wins down the stretch there can get you excited. But they're going to be replacing a lot when you talk about Bryce McGowan's off to the NBA and Alonzo Verge even exhausting his eligibility. It's going to be a different looking team once again, and that might add to some frustration. But we'll see. Maybe Derek Walker, Trey McGowan's, those guys will ultimately decide to come back and add some stability there for the Huskers. As far as the Sweet 16 goes tonight, Arkansas, Gonzaga will tip it off first, then Michigan, Villanova, Texas Tech, Duke, with Arizona, Houston, and the nightcap. Which one of those games are you most excited for tonight?
Well, I'm actually looking at the Texas Tech Duke game. I'm really excited about that one because a lot of people are really overlooking this Texas Tech team, and I don't think that they should. They have a higher net rank than basically Duke does, and they've played more top 25 teams with a 7-4 record against them. Although Duke has a 2-0 record against top 25 teams, they've not only played a tougher schedule, but on top of that, their strength of schedule is 35th, whereas Duke is 58th. So they play great defense. So those are the things that I'm really interested in this particular game. And that transitions next on. It's crazy because what you have is you have tremendously offensively efficient teams in Gonzaga, Duke, Arizona, and Villanova. Villanova plays a little bit better defense than most, but then Michigan has tremendous size with Dickinson, and then they're just hot right now. They're getting it going. They're playing like a team. They're playing united. But Houston gets after you defensively. Arkansas gets after you defensively, as well as Texas Tech. So there's where I'm interested in the matchups of the night because it's tremendously efficient offensive teams against tremendously defensive teams, and we'll see who wins out.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy just going through some of the numbers that I looked at. Both Texas Tech and Arkansas, you've mentioned, they've jumped up and got some upsets, so it wouldn't be surprising to see Arkansas beat Gonzaga and Texas Tech beat Duke tonight. Neither of them shoot above 32% from beyond the arc. I mean, that's some pretty bad numbers. We complain. I'm pretty sure Nebraska, I have to look, I think they probably finished somewhere close to that, and that was a deficiency for Nebraska all season. Now, they don't have a different system. They're not trying to chuck up as many threes as maybe Nebraska was early in the season last year, but it kind of gives you some hope for some teams that, can still get it done defensively. I know everybody wants to emulate Golden State, but not everybody has the best shooters in the world, so, not everybody can win that way. And so this will be a fascinating couple of games tonight. I agree with you. Texas Tech Duke is I think any Duke game with, could be the end of Coach K and his run is almost must-watch television at this point just to see how it goes. That, and it's not hard to watch Duke. They've got, about 5 guys at least that are going to be on NBA rosters here in the next couple of years, starting up there with Paulo Banchero. It's just an amazing program to watch. But Texas Tech has wins over Tennessee. They beat Baylor twice. They beat Kansas this year, Texas. like I said, don't shoot particularly well, but they can muddy it up, and they've had success obviously in the last couple of years under Chris Beard. Now a new regime there, but they could get it going quite well if they get an upset over over Duke. Arkansas Gonzaga. Do you have your winning team still available to you that you picked in your one bracket? I lost Auburn, so now I'm clinging to Gonzaga as my number 2 choice. I
have Arizona and Purdue.
Yeah, Arizona. That's right. Arizona's still out there too tonight. I love that for the nightcap game. But I was saying for Gonzaga, I just feel very comfortable. Obviously, they've got their own talent and their success that they've had there in the past. But I think Nembhard, if I had one guy that needed to take a shot in this tournament that I felt comfortable with, that guy's got ice in his veins. So I feel pretty good about him. Drew Timme, we saw him in the second half kind of take over that game to get them to the Sweet 16. Might be the best college basketball player left in the group as far as just career accomplishments and how it's all going to add up. And then, of course, they have, Chet Holmgren, the big man there. But I still think
out of here. Chet's probably gone.
Oh, yeah, he's like a top 5 pick.
Drew, I actually refereed him in high school. He was at Richardson High School when I was in Texas, so I refereed a lot of his games. So I got a chance to see him up close. He's very skilled. He's a very skilled guy. I just don't know how much it'll translate. I think with his ability to stretch the floor is going to always help, but to play at the positions, he doesn't remind me of a Draymond Green or anything like that. He's not a tremendous leaper, so some of the deficiencies there would maybe catch up with him. But I still think with his ability to shoot the ball, if he really hones in on that, he can be a pro.
And, of course, Michigan-Villanova, the one that a lot of Big Ten fans are going to be interested in. Michigan's been pretty loud, vocal this week with Hunter Dickinson talking about the rest of the Big Ten, how they're sitting at home watching this Michigan team. But Villanova, I always just go back to Jay Wright. He might be, with Coach K leaving, might be taking that mantle as the top coach in the nation. Certainly if he wins the 3rd championship this year, that would be the case. They've got some excellent guard play, and they always do well. They've done well with their guard play before. It's kind of interesting. They only have a 6-man rotation. And we talked about Creighton the other day playing with a 6-man rotation and how that hurt him. Villanova's keyed in. I mean, every guy there has kind of got their role. But Colin Gillespie and Justin Moore, I expect to carry Villanova over Michigan there. I'll still be cheering for the Big Ten, as I always will be.
Eric Dixon is a big body. He ain't big. He's 6'8", maybe 6'9", stretching. But to be able to keep Hunter Dickinson from getting to where he wants to, he has the ability to do it. If he doesn't get in foul trouble, this will be a tight game. If he does, it could be trouble.
And we talked about Texas Tech, Duke, the nightcap, Arizona in Houston. I know you picked Arizona, and they're just an incredible team. Won 17 of 18 games now, 20 assists per game, basically. Benedict Mathurin is going to be a top 10 pick, probably. The Pac-12 Player of the Year. That's got another 7-footer in Christian Koloko that'll probably be a first rounder. So they've got some talent on that team. That being said, probably pretty close to losing that last game. Do you think it helps at times to have a scare early in the tournament to kind of get your mind right?
No question. They definitely it puts a kind of like a scary movie. It kind of wakes you up a little bit, gives you a little you're more aware of what's going on, and you're more tuned in as to what's going on as well, because you don't want to make an exit. So sometimes that is good to happen for you.
And for what it's worth, I do expect that to be a good game. But Houston, they're 31-5, but have not played a difficult schedule, obviously, over there in the American. I don't think they beat a top 25 team until Illinois here in the tournament. But still,
and they're their biggest scorers and their 4th best scorers. So, Sasser. Sasser's their best scorer. They're missing him too, so that is a
big obstacle to overcome. I do like Kelvin Sampson, even from back in his Oklahoma days. Was he? He was probably not at Oklahoma quite when you were playing.
Yeah,
was he there? Yeah,
we got a chance to give him the business.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he's been a really good coach. Obviously, run out of town in Norman, I think, for some sanctions, and then the same thing in Indiana. So we'll see what's going to happen there at Houston. But Final Four team last year, like you said, a little bit beat up, but I still think they can push Arizona tonight. Ultimately, I like your national champion Arizona to get out of that game. We're going to take a quick break here because we're up against it. But when we come back, it'll be time for Mitch Sherman of The Athletic. We'll dive into some of these tournament games, as well as, most importantly, the Xavier Betts situation, try to get his read on that and where the Husker football team is moving through this spring, how it's going. That's next year on The Block on 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you tired of lousy internet and faceless customer service? It's time to experience local, honest, hassle-free, and exceptional. That's the Allo Promise. We not only provide crazy fast fiber internet, crystal clear TV, and dependable phone service, but we choose to become a part of the communities that we serve and love when everyone calls or stops by our store to say hello. So don't settle for mediocre, settle for exceptional with Allo. Visit us at allofiber.com/local.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Cloudy skies for the majority of the day with some late afternoon clearing. We'll top out at around 47. Winds not nearly as strong out of the north-northwest at 15 to 20. Overnight, mainly clear, low of 33. Partly cloudy tomorrow, windy again. Northwest winds gusting to 30 with a high of 56. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric always makes safety a top priority for our home and office. In under just 1 hour, their team installed the state-of-the-art air scrubber system directly into our existing HVAC ductwork. This technology purifies the air and reduces exposure to common bacteria and viruses, creating a safer breathing environment for my family. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
At Baxter, we put you in the driver's seat with a simplified buying process, at-home test drives, hassle-free delivery, and service pickup and return. Check out all our new vehicle specials now during the Jeep Celebration event at Baxter Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Find great deals now on new Rams, Jeeps, and more during Ram Truck Month and the Jeep Celebration event at Baxter Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Shop our entire inventory of new and certified pre-owned vehicles anytime. At Baxter, we put you in the driver's seat.
Brown Shoe Fit is gearing up for spring with new inventory on the way. They're stocking up on new spring sandals and athletic shoes daily in brands like Brooks, Hoka, Keen, Merrell, On, and many, many more. Browns has the local professionals to get the proper fit, aided by their high-tech foot scanner by Atrax. Spring is the season to be active and busy. Don't let your feet lose their support with old rundown shoes or sandals. Stop by Brown's Shoe Fit today, just south of 66th and Q in Lincoln. Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back here on the block on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Falkovin, and he is Eric Strickland, the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet. And as of now, let's bring on Mitch Sherman of The Athletic on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Mitch, how's it going today?
Oh, pretty busy day. How are you guys?
Oh, yeah, not too bad. We had our Thirsty Thursday segment. So
Thirsty Thursday.
We're drinking a little bit, but
I think I might be joining you soon, but not right now.
Come on in. That's why you come on the block, man. That's why you come on the block. You got to join into the party,
Crack
baby.
one open here while we're on the air.
There we go. In the honor of Thirsty Thursday, we do appreciate it. Are you ready for a night of basketball? Is that what your plans are tonight?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. 4 games tonight, 4 tomorrow. Right. You know, it was like an hour ago, and I was so wrapped up in the events of the day that I'd forgotten that, temporarily forgotten that we had NCAA tournament basketball on, and it brightened my mood quite a bit. So looking forward to the games tonight.
Yeah, it certainly was a busy day. We'll get that in a second. I do want to ask you: are you a one bracket guy, or do you fill up multiple ones?
One bracket.
Oh,
one bracket. Never done it. Never done it any other way. I want to be able to have my reason to root in any game that I'm watching. Beyond what like real world reasons I might have. And if I have 2 brackets, then I'm going to run into a situation where I pick both teams. I can't have that.
Yeah, absolutely. The only problem is when your champion loses early. I picked Auburn and they're out, so I can't cling to my bracket too closely anymore.
I mean, it's just a dumb pick, but otherwise everything's good. No, my pick. I picked. Who did I even pick? I forgot.
Duke or Arizona?
It wasn't Duke. It wasn't Arizona.
Gonzaga? Kansas. There you go.
Yeah, I got Kansas. So
Yeah.
Almost lost them in round 2.
Yeah. They give you a scare too. Almost everybody's going to give you a scare too. But let's move on to the news of the day. As you were mentioning, Nebraska announcer Scott Frost announced today in his press conference that Xavier Betts is no longer with the football team. Didn't give a whole lot more information beyond that. What have you been hearing as to maybe reasons as to why Xavier Betts is no longer on the team?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, we know that he, something changed in his status after spring break last week, and it's all speculative. And I think we just need to kind of let this thing play out and see where it is at the end of the spring. Maybe there's an opportunity. We don't know. Scott Frost did not say that there's an opportunity for Xavier Betts to come back. There are some reports that he's going to have a meeting with Nebraska by the end of this week. We'll see if that could potentially lead to the door being open. I don't know necessarily why you would have a meeting if there is no possibility for a future there. Step back and look at this situation. Try to speculate a little bit. Obviously, Nebraska is going through a situation this offseason with new assistant coaches around the offensive side of the ball, with the exception of the tight ends coach, and that doesn't directly impact Xavier Betts. So he's got a new wide receivers coach in Mickey Joseph, and by all accounts, up until today, it seemed to be going well between the two of them. And not to say that there was a falling out or that the issue at all involves his relationship with Mickey Joseph, but I think it's the first place you look is what's the dynamic here between Xavier and the guys who are coaching him. Mickey definitely brings a different style to coaching the wide receivers than what Nebraska has had for the past couple of years while Xavier Betts has been in this program. And I thought that it was something that would help Xavier. I thought Xavier could use the kind of kick in the butt, so to speak, that Mickey Joseph is bringing. I think Mickey has come in here from LSU with the mindset that he is going to coach these guys hard. He's going to be on them. He's going to hold them to a standard that is probably higher right off the bat than what he would sustain long term. And and then you can kind of dial it back when they start to experience some success, maybe during a season. And at least that's the plan. That's what he would hope for. So hard to say if that dynamic has factored at all into what we learned today about Xavier. But I don't think this story is necessarily over. So it would be good for Nebraska just from a production standpoint and a talent standpoint if it could find a way to work something out where he's a productive part of this team.
How big of a loss would you see if they aren't able to bring him back? I know there's been some different response from the fan base, and some people say, well, he wasn't all that productive, so it's not that big of a hit, next man up. But the problem with that is there's not really a whole lot of guys on the offense that were all that productive. It's more about his upside.
He's a really talented guy, and he's a local guy. He's somebody that you want to keep in the program for a lot of different reasons. I mean, so that you can continue to appeal to players like him. I mean, there's a young receiver at the high school that Xavier played at, who was a top prospect on Nebraska's board for a class down the road in 2024. I question the logic that it's not a big loss if this is the end for Xavier in Nebraska. Beyond where he's from, just because of his talent. And yeah, we haven't seen the top end of Xavier Betts in his couple of years at Nebraska, but that was what we were supposed to get. That was what Nebraska hoped to get in the next couple of years. That was what the intention was for Mickey Joseph to be able to bring out in guys like Xavier Betts, which to be able to get to his ceiling. And if I can tell you from seeing him play in high school and in college, that I'm certain that Xavier Betts' ceiling, that the best that he can be, is really good in the Big Ten. And if you don't have that, then there's really no way to cut it other than to say it's a big loss. Now Nebraska does have guys at wide receiver. They've got an addition through the transfer portal and Trey Palmer this offseason that is large, and he's not the only transfer. There's talented freshmen coming in. There's solid returning players back in Omar Manning, and Alante Brown has emerged. It's a deep position. It's a talented position. But you want to have as much talent as you can get. As we've seen with the tight end spot in Nebraska, you can never have too much depth or too much talent, because injuries and other developments will occur. So I'm firmly in the camp that it's a big loss if indeed his days at Nebraska are over.
Now, we're also hearing out of camp too is that a lot of guys are missing, and it's not, maybe it's just specifically that tight end position, of course, but a few guys on the offensive line. Obviously, Gabe Ervin at running back, and then the news today, you kind of have a missing piece there, wide receiver. There's a lot of guys that have played before, so sometimes spring ball is more about getting those other guys up to speed or whatever. But with this bringing in this new offense with all that new offensive personnel, do you think that is a bit of a big deal?
Yeah, fortunately it's March, and if this was 6 months from now, and it was September, or 5 months from now, or 4 months from now, and it was July, and you were getting ready to start practice, and you had this kind of your offensive side of the ball in particular was in this kind of shape from an injury point of view, and you'd have some real concerns. That tight end spot, there's just really nobody left. At least nobody who's been productive at Nebraska. Nobody with experience. I mean, Travis Vokalek is the clear leader there as a sixth-year senior and a returning starter, and he's been out this spring. And Thomas Fedoni is injured. That's now official. I think it was official before today, and there's still not a whole lot of detail that's been released by Nebraska. But he's not going to be around for a while to help this team. Chancellor Brewington is hurt. Chris Hickman is hurt. Those are your top four tight ends. So I don't know what that position is going to look like at the spring game. They might want to just go like 4 and 5 wide the entire spring game to eliminate that position. I mean, honestly, there just really isn't a lot there. There are a couple scholarship players in that signing class 21 with Thomas Fedoni, but it remains to be seen if those guys are ready to go out there and even do it in a productive manner in a spring game. The offensive line is kind of a mash unit right now with your top two candidates probably to start at tackle on the left and right side, and Teddy Prohaska and Turner Corcoran missing the entire spring. So, the good news is Nebraska doesn't have a game for 5 months.
So, Evan, we've had a lot of missing pieces that are going on the football side, but it looks like Fred Hoiberg was able to secure a piece that was an important piece that was needed, with Blaise Keita making a commitment to go ahead and stay even after the Matt Abdelmassih exit. So do you find that to be something that was a crucial piece to land, or you feel that Blaise Keita, if he had decided to move on, that Nebraska would still have been all right?
Yeah, I wish I could say that I had studied him more and know more about him, but I can speak to it generally, Strick. And I know he's a big guy. He's a center, and I know Nebraska lost Eduardo Andre, which is disappointing to the transfer portal, but that's college basketball. And if a guy's here for 2 years and doesn't progress the way that he expects to progress, then it's not a surprise to see something like this with Eduardo Andre leaving the program, and that makes it all that much more important that Hoiberg gets that size that he has signed in this class, and that's what Kita out of junior college definitely brings, a size and a physical presence. And then the addition also not with size, but with the potential point guard in Sam Grissel, the Lincoln kid from North Dakota State, is another seemingly important addition through the Kita was already signed. Grissel coming through the transfer portal, a key addition alongside Kita in the 22-23 team.
And by the way, the latest news on that too, Keon Edwards also entering the transfer portal from Nebraska. That came about an hour ago or so. So we hadn't mentioned that yet, so I did want to bring that up. One last question for you, jumping back over to football recruiting this time. Gretna quarterback Zane Flores, I saw you tweet out, got the Washington offer. He's got an unofficial visit to Ohio State. What's kind of going on between him and Nebraska? He doesn't have a Nebraska offer yet, does he?
Yeah, nothing. And they're not recruiting him right now. I've got a big piece on Zane coming tomorrow on The Athletic. A national story about him and how he's blown up in the recruiting world over the last 6 weeks with a number of Power 5 offers, the latest being Washington that he received yesterday. And, he may have an Ohio State offer in a couple of weeks. We'll see. He doesn't have that now. But Nebraska has its quarterback for the 23 class in William Watson, out of Massachusetts, who was a Mark Whipple guy from long before the time that Mark Whipple got to Nebraska. Quarterback recruiting is different than if Zane Flores was an emerging national level recruit at running back or linebacker. You basically go out and get as many of those guys as you can handle. Quarterback is a different deal, and it's about fit. And it's about having the right numbers. And Nebraska, at this point, with the quarterbacks that it has on its roster, is intent to take one in this 2023 class, and that guy is committed. So there isn't a situation. There isn't an ongoing recruiting process with Zane Flores in Nebraska. If something were to change, if Nebraska has a quarterback transfer, or certainly if there was a decommitment, which is not expected. Then that situation with Flores could change. But I think the situation that's more likely is that by the time anything like that happened, he's going to be committed to another school and have found a fit that's good for him to sign a year from now.
Certainly interesting stuff. I remember another guy with Nebraska ties that ended up going to Ohio State. So if he gets an Ohio State offer, I'm gonna start worrying quite a bit. But he is Mitch Sherman of The Athletic. Mitch, thanks for joining us today. We'll look forward to that article.
All right. Good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, there he goes. Mitch Sherman of The Athletic. Always very insightful and always working on another great story coming up there for The Athletic. So that's always fun. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to our Hitting the Hardwood segment. The ban is lifted. Kyrie can play home games. What does that mean for the Nets? Also, is there trouble in paradise? Jimmy Butler starts a fight with one of his teammates just about every year, and it happened again. So we'll kind of break down Jimmy Butler and Kyrie Irving and all things NBA coming up next year on the block on 93.7 The Ticket.
Southeast Community College is training tomorrow's workforce today with our nearly 60 career and technical programs. We are doing our part to help employers fill vacancies during this current labor shortage, graduating students with skill sets employers are seeking. We're also helping to upskill the workforce by adding short-term credentials like certificates in many programs so that employees can get retraining quickly. Learn more about upskilling with SCC at southeast.edu/academics. SCC, your path to possible.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
People always ask, what are Jake and Sip like when they're off the air? Well, the answer probably won't surprise you.
Hey, Jake, your Honda's looking a little dirty.
Says the guy whose license plate is barely visible.
I mean, do you even care about that thing anymore?
It gets a little uncomfortable. Now, that's when I jump in.
Hey, whoa. Mark, did you get a new car?
Nope, just took my car down to Nebraska Auto Detail. Joe and the staff made the outside and the inside look amazing. Maybe you guys need to go.
Okay, wise guy.
Settle down, Jake.
Call Nebraska Auto Detail today at 402-601-5086.
Work, laundry, dishes. I was exhausted. I needed a vacation, but finding a way to pay for it, not so easy. Then I found it. A research study at Solarion. I searched the studies and found a perfect match for me. It was so easy. I earned cash for the study and booked that vacation. Plus, I made an impact on medical research. Find a study and sign up today at healthresearch.com.
You should consider the risks of the research before you agree to participate.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Are you tired of lousy internet and faceless customer service? It's time to experience local, honest, hassle-free, and exceptional. That's the Allo Promise. We not only provide crazy fast fiber internet, crystal clear TV, and dependable phone service, but we choose to become a part of the communities that we serve and love when everyone calls or stops by our store to say hello. So don't settle for mediocre, settle for exceptional with Allo. Visit us at allofiber.com/local.
March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. If you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300 or go to choicestreatmentcenter.com.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It is time for Hitting the Hardwood, our daily segment geared toward our NBA fans here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and throughout our listening base. Big day in the NBA, big day for New York City altogether, as New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced Thursday today that the mandate for unvaccinated athletes and performers has been lifted. Of course, this affects the Knicks, Nets, Yankees, Mets, any other teams that are out there in New York. But most importantly, the headliner of all this is, of course, Kyrie Irving. The Nets have never been able to play kind of as a team. Of course, the big three. I love how anytime a big group gets together, I loved hearing when James Harden and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant all got together. Oh, this is the best team of all time. And it definitely didn't turn out that way. They still could maybe even win a championship. I still don't think they're in the best team of all time category. There was not enough ball for that big three. But it is going to be interesting to see if Kyrie, if that team can get healthy. Certainly Kyrie's at least probably has a lot of his legs left for this playoff run.
He definitely has his legs left.
Yeah.
And you see it in what he's doing in production. I mean, obviously, I think that's an interesting thing that just recently happened, in that they ran up against Memphis and without a Ja Morant, and they had Kevin and both of them going like almost 75 points combined between the both of them, with Kyrie breaking 40 and KD, in the 30 range. So with that, you find that they're still vulnerable. And they did Memphis. This Memphis team is a team that you got to keep your eye on. I mean, they did all of that without Ja Morant. So you've got to really figure that they're a team to watch in out west, and don't by any means, count them out. But Brooklyn now, with Kyrie being available in this last stretch, these last few games, to kind of get back and get in sync with everybody, and then now be able to finish it out and close everything out, I think is going to be a tremendous asset for them. To hopefully get rhythm, find some cohesion between all of them, and then see if they can make a run at it. The East isn't as dominant as it used to be. I mean, it is. Let me just say that the West has always been dominant. The West is weaker than the East now. I think there's some parity. It's pretty balanced, but I think the East is probably the strongest conference right now. So they're going to need all hands on deck to be able to make a run coming out of this final stretch.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting. You're kind of getting to that point where some teams are officially in, like the Heat and the Suns have claimed playoff spots. Other teams that are so bad they're eliminated, like the Pacers, Pistons, and Magic, and Thunder and Rockets. But it's just fascinating. I can't wait.
They're a race to the bottom, Bach.
Yeah,
those guys.
they are racing.
It's the first race to the bottom to see who's going to get the ball.
That's right. But the Nets, for what it's worth, right now are the 8th seed, and they're not really close to the 7th seed. I mean, they're 2.5 games behind, so I guess that's somewhat close. But for where they're at, 38 and 35, and you can see it displayed in their record. Usually, you can put up a pretty good home record, and then your away record will be, you try to hit 500 or whatever. Brooklyn is 16 and 19 at home, and 22 and 15 on the road. And again, that's because they haven't been able to have Kyrie Irving there. But there's a lot more problems that goes with their health. They just need to kind of put it all together. But they're going to be fascinating because I would love to see, of course, there's the natural interest if the 76ers match up with the Nets because of the trade that's gone down. And other people are in another part of this too, is that there are some people that don't expect Ben Simmons to play at all this year. So the Nets might not be at full strength in that way either. But right now, I mean, they look like, unless they can make a run here late, and maybe this news will help them, that they're destined for a play-in game type of situation, which that's dangerous. And I if they get in, they'll be among the favorites. But a one game sample size, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. It turns it into an NCAA tournament within an NCAA tournament, but just at the NBA level. And yeah, one game can change the whole dynamic of everything that you had hoped. And to get this information late from Eric Adams, and now to be able to play at full strength with other than injuries is I'm sure makes them feel pretty good as to where they are. Other than Ben Simmons, I guess it seems to be some back issues in his spine or something like that that's been causing him problems. But yeah, not to be able to have him, his defensive abilities and just his open court abilities is I'm sure is going to be a detriment to them.
Yeah, and you just hate to see it. Anytime the Nets get a big team put together, just something goes wrong. Oh wait, no, I don't hate to see that. I like to see that, so I'm not too worried about that. But I would like to see that team at full strength at least give it a go. But I would be cheering against them. But in any case, we'll see what happens in the East. It's fascinating. Again, I think a lot of people are saying, I mean, Boston's a really hot team. Can you say? I mean, they might even, they're pretty close to, after being 500, a third of the way through the season, they might have a chance to take that number 1 seed. Just a game and a half back of the Heat. A lot of people thinking either way the East is going to go through Philadelphia or with the Bucks, the defending champs. That makes sense. But the team on top there, the Miami Heat, maybe a little bit underrespected, but now there is trouble there as Udonis Haslem, who's been there now for 30 plus years, I think, still playing. He's basically just a coach on the bench, I think, at this point in time. But he looked like he was sticking up for Eric Spoelstra as Jimmy Butler, who has had problems in Chicago with some of his teammates. He had problems in Minnesota with some of his teammates. Now it extends to Miami. They were having a verbal fight, and it looked like they were talking about a physical fight, and they had to be separated, including Coach Spo, who is tiny. Like, what do you win by beating up a tiny guy, especially if he's your coach? I don't think you win the argument, and you certainly wouldn't win anything as far as your career goes forward. What do you think of Jimmy Butler? Obviously, he's had trouble, especially, Westbrook gets all the attention for not shooting well from deep as far as NBA stars go. Jimmy Butler has been nearly as bad since All-Star break from beyond the arc. But that aside, is he a player? We saw him take the Heat to the finals with Bam and Goran Dragic and all those guys. Now got him on top of the East. Is he a guy you think that you would be pretty comfortable building your franchise around, or the fact that he keeps fighting everybody, is that a problem?
Everybody plays well when the contract is on the line. That's the one thing you got to watch out when you're dealing with. He's that type of guy. When the contract, it reminds me of Eddie Curry. Whenever Eddie Curry was going through it back in the day when he was with New York and obviously being a first pick and so forth and so on. And every time contract year came up for that young man, it was like he lost all kinds of weight and he was ready to go, and he balled a little bit, and then they get the next deal and he would blow up like a house. It was the same thing in a different way, I think, with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is, to me, he's a solid player. Obviously, a lot of people had a bubble run, so to speak. So let's not get that twisted. A lot of people played well in the bubble, and
what do you think that is too? Because I know, like,
you don't
the
have
Morris
to travel.
twins are talking like that.
You don't have to travel. It's what some people may not understand is you play a game. Let me give you an example. We played a game. We had a road trip. We played Charlotte. We played Atlanta. We played Miami, and then we came back and played when I was in Boston. We came back and then we played Orlando. We played Charlotte. We flew down and we had a night off, played, hung out a little bit in Atlanta, played the next night. Then we had a back-to-back in Miami. Now listen, that's a short trip. It's not always that short. We finished the game. By the time you get finished, get to the airport, you get into the plane, fly, get there, arrive, get on the bus, get there to the hotel. You're almost at 2:00. That's just on a short flight. Some of those other times it could be 3 a.m. So then you got to play a back-to-back. That's how that stuff runs. So playing in the bubble, you just go back to the room in Disney or whatever you was playing at and get in the bed and you good. Walk to the little gym that you're going to practice at. Boom, boom. Then you're at the game the next night, walk into the gym, and you're just no nonchalant. You ain't getting on no planes and dealing with that. Yeah, you didn't have to deal with that.
It was interesting. We saw some guys just blow up in the bubble. They really liked that atmosphere. And some teams, the Lakers, and I've seen the Morris, one of the Morris.
Like practice. There's no crowd. You see all the sensitivity. The men with the Ralph Tresvants out there now. Everybody's sensitive. You can't even deal with the crowd half of the time now. So you didn't have to deal with no crowd. There was nobody in the gym. So it's like practice. Everybody can play free.
Well, we are up against it, so we're going to have to let you go. We'll be back here with On the Block, but coming up next on Ticket Weeknights is Buzzy Carruthers from out there at Tanner's. That's next.
At Baxter, we put you in the driver's seat with a simplified buying process, at-home test drive,